Hello everyone, as always this is Jake, and today I have a video with a deck that many of you now hate if you've been playing expanded format on TCG online. But I do want to show this to you guys. So this is a modification of a deck list that did well in Japanese nationals, which their standard format is a lot like our expanded format. So they already had Ancient Origins come out and be legal, and were able to use Giant Fan Shiftry. So, Giant Fan, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may flip a coin. If heads, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. Your opponent shuffles that Pokemon and all cards attached to it into his or her deck. So, that is the entire premise of this deck, is that you want to shuffle all of your opponent's Pokemon away, and then the game's over. There is a secondary win condition in that, so you have to flip a coin, and you can only do so many flips before your deck runs out of steam. If they have a Pokemon on the bench that's killable with Fast Raid, or even with a Muscle Band, you do run, in this version of the deck, one Latios-EX, one Muscle Band, and one Psychic Energy, in order to get that last knockout without needing to hit a Giant Fan. So in the Japanese list, just the only changes from the list shown is that there's 1 roller skates and 3 recycle instead of 4 first ticket. First ticket allows you to go first if it's in your opening hand, but because of the rulings changed by Pokemon, the Pokemon Company International, the card doesn't really work anymore because you determine who goes first before you draw your cards. So you can't really use it in the international formats. But I opted to add in 3 recycle and 1 roller skates. I would probably add 4 recycle or 4 roller skates. I only have 3 recycle though, so I went ahead and did that. And yeah, so Shiftry needs a card which, the reason why it's so used right now is because of Forest of Giant Plants, aka Broken Vine Space. So how this works is you can evolve your Pokemon over and over if it's a grass Pokemon, if the stadium's in play. And you can just evolve all the way into Shiftry, then use Devolution Spray, or you can even pick it up with a Scoop Up Cyclone, and just play them all back down again, using your Giant Fan over and over and over. Battle Compressor is used just for some consistency. You can put extra cards you don't need in the discard, like extra giant plants or extra Pokemon that you don't need. That way you draw into the cards, because theoretically you want to win on your first turn. I think that's about it for showing you the deck, but let's see it in action. Alright, so we got a game, and I will go for heads. I would love to go first. You always want to go first with this deck. Go ahead and start with Latios-EX. That's the best starter. The second best is anyone but Unown. Go ahead, put these down on my bench. I already have a Nuzleaf, which is good. Shaymin for 3 more cards. Let's go ahead and Acro Bike. We already have a Nuzleaf, so we don't need that. I'll just grab the Scoop Up. Trainer's Mail for an Ultra Ball. And so we're still missing a couple key pieces. We can go, I think we need to grab another Shaymin. So first off, I want to shuffle a Trainer's Mail back in. That doesn't work. And I'm going to try to grab another Shaymin here. So first I'm going to Super Scoop Up, and we hit it, so I'll just grab the Shaymin. I will discard these 2 cards and grab a Shiftry. Go ahead and play the Shaymin down. And nothing else to do, so I will use my 2 farewell letters. And we got the Giant Plant Forest, finally. So now we just go into Shiftry. Yes, I want to use the ability. We hit Tails. Devolution Spray. Put the Shiftry back down. and we hit heads, and we shuffle it back in, and that's the game. So I'll show a couple more games of this, just so you can see how kind of silly this deck is. And afterwards, I'll talk about some of the options you have to combat against it if you're planning on playing at regionals this next season. They're going to be expanded, at least for the first set of regionals, so you definitely want to know how this deck works. Alright, we got another game. So this deck is kind of luck of the draw. Also, you know, coin flips. So I get Tails this game, so he'll be able to fill up his bench with more Pokemon. And we'll just put Seedot in the active and Unown on the bench. So he already knows. Let's see, he's Buffalon. The only Pokemon we really care about is Wobbuffet and Baltoy from Ancient Origins. Wobbuffet will block the ability completely, and Baltoy has a Theta Stop, which means it's not affected by abilities. And so those two Pokemon are, if you go against them, you have to automatically just concede the game. You have 0 chance of winning, except with your Latios, but you'll need the Muscle Band in order to knock out the Wobbuffet. So I can Giant Fan, and I don't need the Seedot, I already have one. Maintenance lets me shuffle 2 cards in and then draw 1. There's no 2 cards right now that I want to shuffle. I like 2 of them right now. So I'm just going to Ultra Ball for a Shaymin and keep drawing through my deck. So Battle Compressor, get rid of some of the extra cards that I do not need. 2 Giant Plant Forest because we already have one in play. And I can grab another Seedot. Where are you, Seedot? There you are. Go ahead and Acro Bike. We will take the Nuzleaf. And I'll go ahead and put that down. So, Level Ball. We won't be able to grab the Shiftry, but I'll just grab another Unown. And put it down. We'll Shaymin again. And Acro Bike. We want the Ultra Ball. And Trainer's Mail. Do we want Acro Bike or Roller Skates? We have the Ultra Ball. So being able to see, we already had Nuzleaf, so Acro Bike or Roller Skates is fine. I'm gonna grab the Acro Bike because it's less risky, and we actually do grab a Shiftry, so we won't need to Ultra Ball for it. I'll go ahead and start Giant Fanning now. We hit a Tails. And it's important that I'm actually going to not... Oh, we hit our first heads. Let's just shuffle in one of the bench. So it's important that we don't... We might need to Ultra Ball for a third Shaymin. I probably should have checked to make sure we had one. But yeah, so we get Tails here. I'm going to Ultra Ball and grab the Shaymin. And draw some more cards. So I'm just going to... I've already used all my Shaymin. I'm going to go ahead and Farewell Letter all of these. I can Level Ball for another one and just draw all the cards I can. We'll go ahead and Roller Skates. It fails. Let's Scoop Up Cyclone and start putting our cards back down. Giant Fan, we hit it. And now we have just a few more. So we get the Scoop Up. And do we get the Giant Fan? We do. So this game is also over. As you can see, it's really silly. It's really silly. But because this deck just goes so quickly, I will show an extra one, or an extra game. Normally I like to show 2 games, or 3 depending on length. If you guys want to see more games with a deck in a video, let me know. I'm always open to feedback, but I will be right back with another game. Alright, I got another game. These 3 have all been back to back to back. I haven't had to Normally, if there's like a game where someone surrenders really early or something, I won't include that in the video just because it's, didn't get to take our 6 prizes, but so far no one's conceded against this. I know when I play Expanded, I see one of these, I just kind of move on to the next game. I would like to draw some more cards. Thank you. So we got to start with our preferred starter. Because I only see, if he puts down a basic that has 60 health, it would make more of a difference, but now we'll put down our giant plant, or forest of giant plants. Let's go ahead and Acro Bike. We already have a Seedot, so we can just grab maintenance here. Acro Bike again. We will grab this Nuzleaf and put him down. Now we want to see what we get with Trainer's Mail. Definitely going to grab... I want to grab the Battle Compressor because we're going to draw more, but I'm just going to grab the Scoop Up Cyclone because why not? Going to Ultra Ball these 2 cards away. So 1, 2. We have all 4 Shaymin. And let's go ahead and start Giant Fanning. We hit our first one. And we'll go ahead and try to use and see if we hit the second one. And we don't. So now I want to recycle. We missed the recycle, and now I'll just play Shaymin. Unown is good. Hold on, sorry, making a video on it. I don't really use this deck much online. I think it's it's too silly for me. Anyways, we shuffle in the final Pokemon, and that is the game. So yeah, like I said, this is just absurd. But if you think about it, it really only loses to one deck, which is a deck that runs Wobbuffet or Baltoy, which I'll go over in a second. So if it wins against everything but 2 Pokemon, which are automatically loses, does that mean it's the best deck in the format? Of course, you can tech against it by including one, but if you don't get it, you still lose. In a best of 3 format, maybe including one Baltoy for some decks in Expanded will be helpful because you might have a chance, especially if you get to go first. But yeah, does it mean it's the best deck in the format? I think you can argue it. I'm not going to say yes or no completely, just because I'm not really here to say that. But if it can beat every single deck except for decks that run one of those 2 Pokemon, and even then, if you run Wobbuffet, you better run 4 because if it's not in the active, it doesn't matter. Does it mean it's the best? Anyways, I will be right back. I'm going to quickly load up some of the ways you can combat against this deck and show you guys. Alright, so here's some of the steps you can take against this deck if you're worried about seeing it at your local league, a major event, or just playing online. The easiest one is Baltoy. Theta Stop prevents all effects of your opponent's Pokemon abilities done to this Pokemon. It only has 1 retreat cost, so it's not the worst thing to get Lysandered up. It wastes an energy attachment. It also takes a bench spot, but if you wanted to run 1 or 2 of these, just to make sure your Expanded tournaments go a little bit easier, as long as you're going first, or if you can get it out on your bench or active early, but if you're going first, it's not too hard to find an Ultra Ball and grab it, or find a level ball. This Pokemon will allow you just to automatically win against Shiftry, as it won't, no matter what, it won't be able to use its ability against you. The next one here is Wobbuffet. Running a Wobbuffet deck in Expanded at your local tournaments might be a good idea if you think there's going to be a lot of Giant Fan. I do have a pretty or a tournament ready Expanded deck list I want to show you guys of Wobbuffet later that I plan on using at my local events as one of the 2 Expanded options I'm currently looking into right now. But his Bide Barricade, as long as he starts in the active, Shiftry can't do anything. If he's on the bench, Shiftry can shuffle those in first, and you won't be able to do anything. The final option is a bit of a stretch, but if you go first, and if you get your Vulpix out, and if you play Wally, then your Ninetales will be able to stop the giant plant forest, and you will most likely win the game. Now this is a big stretch, but I felt like it still had enough merit to talk about. There are some decks, especially with like Giratina Lock and just Stadium Lock in general being a thing with Paint Roller to get rid of their stadium and then just keep it away. This is definitely a Pokemon worth talking about, and while it is a pretty big stretch to have, because you're not going to run many, you might run 2 Vulpix max, and 1 to 2 Ninetales max, but most people would probably just run a 1/1 copy of it unless it was extremely necessary for what you're trying to do. And if somehow you have Wally as well, then and this is expanded, so you could run, you could Ultra Ball for Jirachi, then grab the Wally. So, I mean, you could also run only 1 copy of Wally if you were running a deck that already was going to use Ninetales and expanded. Maybe adding 1 Wally with a Jirachi EX is a good inclusion, just as a tech against this deck. But then you'll be able to block the stadium. Yes, you'll still be able to Giant Fan, but not until turn 3. And so yes, it does beat it, but it's really situational. If you're running any deck besides one that actually wants the Ninetales, then I recommend Baltoy or just running Wobbuffet deck. Now, there is one other thing I forgot to mention, so I'm gonna go back to the Giant Fan deck and talk over one more thing before I end the video. Alright, so one more reason why I think this version of the deck that was used in Japan is really strong is because of this Latios-EX. So we talked about some of the counters, like Wobbuffet, and one thing with Latios-EX is that you can't Giant Fan if they have Wobbuffet. If they only have 1 Wobbuffet out and it's in the active and their bench doesn't have anything or it doesn't have other Wobbuffets, then you can knock it out with a Muscle Band on this Latios. And you have to fish for those cards, and you only have 1 energy and no way to grab it. You just have to draw through your deck until you find it and hope it isn't prized, but there is an option for that if needed. Another thing is with Sacred Ash, you can shuffle Unknowns back in and keep drawing more and more, so it's not unrealistic that you can draw through your whole deck on the first turn, but yeah, so Latios does provide an answer to that at least. Same thing if you have a Baltoy in the active and that's your only Pokemon, Latios can deal with that as well. And if your Latios isn't on the active, you have something else on the bench, you can just use your Scoop Up Cyclone to scoop up the active and then put your Latios in it. So not only does it add a little bit more consistency by if they have a low HP Pokemon on the bench, you can just take your last Pokemon off their bench by just knocking it out. That's 1 less coin flip you have to do to win the game. But it also provides some answers to some of the counters that could counter this deck. But I think that's all I want to talk about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see this more, I probably won't be playing this deck on stream. I don't like it too much. I think it's really silly. But if you really wanted me to, I would play a couple games on it for you if you ask. But let me know if you want me to go over some of the counter decks you can run against this, as I have done a lot of testing with Wobbuffet and expanded as well as standard. And yeah, so if you want to see expanded version, I already have a standard version of the deck list on my channel. I'll leave that in the video description in case you're interested in at least reformatting my standard list into an expanded one. But yeah, so if you're interested to see the expanded list, let me know. I'll make sure to get that video up soon. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.